Hi everyone, it's Heidi from flutterbyheidi.co.uk. I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator based here in the United Kingdom, and today I'm coming to you with a project using the Power of Hope bundle, and this is a fabulous bundle that you can get if you spend £90 on Stampin' Up products in my shop at the moment. And you not only get the stamp set, but you also get this gorgeous stone embossing folder, which you can just see there, which gives a fabulous texture to your project. I've just done a series of projects, so I've shown on my blog a couple of other cards using this stamp set aimed at you if you're a beginner stamper and you've never stamped before, and this is one for the more dedicated, more avid crafter, somebody who's got perhaps a few more tools, and in particular it means you've got dies. Now, dies are metal shapes that cut card into shapes for you and add detail. And these are the beautiful, sweetly stitched ones here. And you can see that they not only cut a shape, but with some stitching detail as well. And it comes with these rectangles and these lovely shapes too. So that's what I'm using today. And I'll talk to you as you go along. You could just keep this plain if you haven't got dies, but this kind of takes it to the next level, adds some lovely detail. So as you can see, one of the things I always do is I put my dies, if they don't come with a coordinating stamp set, I just put a piece of magnetic sheet inside a box, and on this side I put a CD wallet, a self-adhesive one. You could use a label pocket as well, and in there, whenever I'm doing a bit of die cutting, I use my scraps, create some blanks, so I can quickly grab one if I want to make a card quickly and not get my die cutting machine out. So that's what I do. Lots of people do similar things. It's not something new. So let's crack on with the project. Let's keep my nameplate out of the way. Other things that I'm using here is a little bit of designer series paper, and that's from the Parisian Blossoms suite. What else am I using? I'm using some blends as well. And I'm also using another stamp set, and this is a fabulous one to have in your stash, called Peaceful Moments. And this is a stamp set that has fabulous sentiments for all sorts of occasions, and coordinates with some beautiful poppy dies as well. So if you bought that bundle of stamp set and dies, you could create some gorgeous flowers with some sentiments and you're sorted. So let's crack on with the project then. So I've started off by creating a card base. I work in centimetres today. I'll pop inches on my blog. So I've just created a card base using some thick Whisper White, and that is 29, no it isn't, it's 21 by 14.5 centimetres, and I've scored that at 10.5 centimetres, so I can pop that to one side. The next thing I'm going to do is show you a little bit of die cutting. I've already cut the basic shapes out, but as you can see here, this is actually not a full rectangle. This is just a slightly shortened one. I felt the full rectangle was a little bit too big and kind of dominated. You see, if that had gone across there, I mean, you could do that if you wanted to, but if you want to shorten that, it's very easy to do. All you do is you take your cut a die shape here, as you can see. We then take our die, and this is where it's really useful. You'll see a really worn cutting plate here. I'll flip that over. There you go. And just take your die and just line it up the size you want it to be. So I just kind of did that. Oh, I'm using smoky slate here. I used basic grey in my original, but I felt it was a little bit on the dark side. So so all you do is just pop it on like so. Pop your plate on the top, run that through, and that'll then shorten your die. And it's a good way of getting a little bit more out of your rectangle dies. There we go, like so. And you'll see when you lift that up, because you've lined it up, you've still got your pretty shapes. So that's just another use for your dies. Okay, so first of all, let's stamp our lady. So this lady, lovely sort of Japanese figurine, is going to be stamped in Memento ink, if I don't drop it all over the place. Just in the centre there, as our focal image. And I'm also going to stamp that on a piece of the Parisian Blossoms paper. It's sort of got a Japanesey feel. You don't need to do the whole lady, you just need her dress. So I'm just going to pop that, there we go, like so. And because that's foiled, pop it to one side to dry for a moment. While that's drying, we can cut some layers. Now, you have a choice with these. You can either die cut another shape out in white and then just trim just inside those dashed lines, or we can cut a piece. So I'm going to cut one to about 5.8 by 5.3-ish. So while those bits are drying, picked up the wrong card, that's thick. Okay, so 5.8 by 5.3. As I say, will depend on how you've cut yours, but you can see that gives you a nice little border all the way around. Then I've cut out one of these labels as well, which is one of the smaller ones, and that one measures up at about 2.2 by 4.8. So if we do our 2.2 first, and then just pop it on for just a 4.8, and then I'm using that top edge just to get straight. Trying to squash my cat. I usually put my stuff on a chair to one side. My cat is sat on the chair. I don't think he'd be terribly impressed to have a trimmer popped on top of him, do you? Hey, who knows? So this should be dry now. So we just cut that off and try not to smudge it. It may well take a while to dry. And just go up the outside. Obviously what you could do is you could stamp in stays on. That would work well for this as well. And I'm just trying to kind of come slightly within the line as well. There we go, like so. Perfect, okay. Just pop some glue on the back of that, depending on what glue you have to hand. A little bit of wet glue is usually quite good for this, as this is going to be one of those days, isn't it, where, oh, there we go. Got a little bit of excess on there, so I'm just going to use a bit of scrap paper. Just kind of, what you don't want is that making your card too wet. There we go, like so. Leave that to dry. While that's drying, I'm going to use some smoky slate and just stamp our pagoda image to the side there. So, and then I'm going to stamp my sentiment, which comes from the Peaceful Moments, just in some pool party, which echoes the colour that's in the dress, and lovely soft colours. and I haven't done that at all straight. Oh, it's actually not as bad as I thought. There we go. Okay, so pop that to one side as well. Now, hopefully this should be fairly dry now, so I'm going to come in and do a couple of things. First of all, I'm going to sponge the edges. I decided I didn't want an extra layer on this, so I'm just using a sponge dauber. And you could use whatever, a sponge if you wanted to. You could add a layer of cardstock if you wanted to, but I'm just coming in and just, you can see, brushing on the edge to give it a subtle sense of colour. Really easy to do, whatever your preferred method is. I just happen to have my sponge daubers out to hand. There we go. Okay. And I'm no good at this talking and doing stuff, like I get carried away with my crafting. So pop in with a bit of glue. Get rid of the cat and dog fur that happens to be on there. Just pop that in place. Do the same with your sentiment. Just pop that in. This one we don't need to. What we need to do is do a bit of colouring. So as I said, I've got some Pool Party and I've got the Petal Pink, which again are the two colours that I've got in use. And I've got a bit of Mossy Meadow as well. I'm just going to add actually a little bit of Mossy Meadow just to the bottom of my pagoda. I'm going to add a little bit of ground, a little bit of shadow there. It's what's called grounding an image. It just means you're sort of adding a little bit of colour. And then I'm not sort of colouring the whole background, but I'm just coming in and kind of creating a hint of a background. I have misplaced my light Pool Party, so I would normally do this in light Pool Party, but I've had to use my dark Pool Party. I remember when I used it last, I was doing some snowmen. That shows it was Christmas, and I've misplaced it. So that's my dark. I don't want my dark, I want my light. So I'm coming in with my light Petal Pink blend just to come in here with the parasol. Oh, and what I also would want is a black or a grey, which I've put down. So just to colour the hair in. So I'm just going to come in with a little bit around the edge there. I can come in and do that in a moment. So next we want to use our lovely stone embossing folder. So with this I've just cut a piece of cardstock which is 13.5 by 9.5, and I've popped that inside my embossing folder, and you'll see there's two sides. There's one where it's quite raised, and on this one I inked the other side to give a darker effect as well. I'd actually decided I'd still like this raised image on the front, so that's what we're going to go with. So all I need to do now is locate my card base and let's get layering. So, okay. So with my card base then, make sure it's nicely burnished. And then what I'm going to do is add a layer of smoky slate. Now if you wanted to, you could gut the middle out of that. That means cut to create an aperture. I'm not going to do that today. I'm just going to leave it as it is. It obviously gives you, it's perfect if you wanted to use it later on for die cutting. So I'm just going to add my layer of smoky slate. Add my layer, my uninked layer, because as I say, I decided that wasn't right for this card. just to keep it a little bit plainer. And then I'm going to come in with dimensionals. And with the dimensionals, I'm just going to add them onto the corners. So as I said, you know, usually one in each corner, one in the middle, depends on the size of your card layer. But it's always a... And then I just pop that in the corner there so you can still see the grey, and I think that smoky slate works really well. I'm going to do the same on the corner here. Actually, I'm going to use some of my edge pieces. So this is me being frugal. I use every scrap of dimensionals. They're not cheap, but they are fantastic and they work really well. So again, I'm going to pop that in the bottom corner. Now to pop my lady, I'm actually going to put some double dimensionals on there to give it extra height. Now, if you are posting this card, you might want to keep it a little bit flatter, and that's fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, in this top corner here, I'm going to put 2 dimensionals. 2 dimensionals to create 3D. So there we go. 2 dimensionals, one on top of another. I'm going to do the same in the diagonally opposite corner. And that gives it an extra height. And then in the other 2 corners, I'm just going to add a single dimensional, like so. Take my backing strips off, and I'm probably going to put one just to the side here, although actually, no, I don't need it. And all you do is just layer that on top, as you can see there, just so you've got the grey peeking out top and bottom. Square it up, and then all that remains to do is decorate the inside of our card, something I don't always show but I do usually do, and that is to just take one of the images that you've used and stamp it in a very pale colour on the inside. So although I've used smoky slate, I'm stamping off once and adding that on the inside. So there we have our pretty Japanese inspired card. You can see I've used smoky slate and basic grey. For me, I think I prefer the smoky slate, but which one do you think? I will go and colour that lady's hair in as well. Thanks for watching. Come back and see me again soon. And if you'd like to purchase any of the products, pop along to my Stampin' Up shop, heidismith.stampinup.net or flutterbyheidi.co.uk. Follow the links to shop now. Come back soon. Bye.